Sweet. Well, let me tell you a little bit about Darby Rollins. This guy, I've known him for probably 3 or 4 years at this point. We met at actually like a men's personal development dinner, which was interesting. All about like entrepreneurs here in Austin that want to really like create an empire. And this guy was just hungry. And over the years, I've seen him grow from basically having multiple e-commerce brands to then getting really freaking good at writing copy for Amazon listings. And through that knowledge and becoming now the #1 Amazon listing optimization guy on Upwork, he then wrote a book on this called Amazon Copywriting Secrets. And it is just packed full of information. And Darby, how has that impacted your Amazon copywriting agency since writing this book?
Well, since the book came out end of January, it's made the conversations I've had with potential clients a lot easier to close because I can send them a book now that walks them through my process, and it answers pretty much all the questions that they have in relation to whether or not I actually know what I'm talking about in a world where everyone thinks they're an expert, but very few people can actually deliver on it.
We also have, Darby, you've gone in and you've pretty much systemized exactly how to do this. In fact, you helped me write my book here called Subscription Secrets. And this was, I was actually really hesitant to writing this book, if you remember in the beginning, because I felt like it had to be perfect. I felt like it had to be, if it was going to be printed in real life, like not just on some kind of blog post that could be edited really quickly and like nobody would have access to the old one. I felt like it had to be this like perfect tablet of my information. But then you made me realize that was just a limiting belief, that it didn't have to be perfect, that now today on Amazon you can actually like upload a new manuscript and then instantly the very next copy ordered will actually be updated. Like the new words, the new chapters, the updates, all of that get updated immediately. And so I've actually taken a new approach to writing my book where basically it's the MVP, the minimal viable product, or as I call in my book, the cupcake. Darby, Take us on the ride to write and publish your book on Amazon in the next 7 days with AI.
Absolutely, Austin. So just like Austin said, when we got through this process, went through it in a weekend essentially, basically because the last few years I'd always had the idea to write a book, but I never really had a structure to go about it. And so what we're going to be outlining here for you guys today is basically what we've been learning over the past 2-3 months, and rinse and repeating this process inside of the Jarvis Underground group that we put together to talk specifically about book writing, and all of the other awesome people part of the Conversion.ai community who have jumped on the idea to leverage Jarvis to get that book out of their head and onto paper.
Love it.
Cool. So this is like a real quick bullet point, this slide right here, but what we're going to be running through. But at the end of this, and this shouldn't take that long to run through because I'm just going to give you a high level overview of how the process works. We're then going to dive into Conversion.ai and how to really lean into Jarvis to brainstorm to get those ideas out of your head. But just to kind of set the tone of this thing here. There's an old Chinese proverb that the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time to plant a tree is now. Same thing goes with a book. And the fact is that most people out there in the history of the world have probably wanted to write a book at some point in time. And in reality, most people never even get to the point of starting that book, much less actually getting to the point of completion. There's like progress is always, in my opinion, better than actually getting hitting the perfection, but it's so easy to just want things to be perfect. And that's kind of what, like Austin said, like the book doesn't have to be perfect to get it out there. What we're looking for with this process is how do you create a minimum viable version of your book that you can start to get feedback from your audience, from your ideal readers, to really build your book as you grow, much to the way that you would start and grow a business, right? You want to start with your early adopters and then grow it from there. And so really when like Austin and the first group went through the 7-day challenge, that was the whole key of it. Like, how do we go from blank page to published in 7 days? And this is a post that Austin made a couple weeks ago, I believe. He, Austin, if you want to just really quickly share a little bit about kind of your story.
I'll share the story just to give some faith and hope that a book is a really great way to build authority around something that you genuinely know a lot about and that you believe would be valuable if it was packaged in a way people could receive. When I wrote this book, I did it really quietly. I actually released it because it still like had a lot of typos and errors, and it just didn't feel complete for a full edition yet. However, I felt like it needed to be out there. It was better for it to be done, out there rather than it be perfect. And I knew that, I also have really high standard for like what I believe I want this book to become. And so that's why I did it kind of quietly. However, now it's been a month and already, people have been able to find it on Amazon naturally, organically, without, my promotion. In fact, an executive at a big nonprofit that you probably know the name of ended up reading it, buying it, reading it, looked me up on LinkedIn, found that a connection with her, I had a connection with her CEO. They made the introduction, and I did some consulting with them, all from the book on how to like embed a subscription into their nonprofit. And so that's just like one example of how it can lead into more business for you. But it could also be, as you've done, for some of your other ones, like you actually have a done for you agency. You also have physical products. And so I just think that a book can do a lot for you. And I also helped my dad publish his book, which is really cool too, through this process. And he didn't really use Jarvis all that much, but I want you to know that you can to go faster. He actually used a lot of his journal entries over the past year during COVID and published his book in a weekend using this exact system that we're going to walk through with you today on this call. So whether you're like my dad that wants to publish his poems, or you're like me that really just wants to package my knowledge out there, or you're like Darby that actually have a business on the back end of your book, you can use a book can do a lot for you in your life.
Absolutely, Austin. Thank you for sharing that. And what we're going to show here in the next slide is that how people are really using Jarvis to smash through that writer's block. And just to give you an idea of all the people inside of this community, some of them are going to be on this call right now. Some of them have gotten into this, this exposure to Jarvis and just realizing that, wow, I have the ability to write a book now. This is just the beginning, right? We're just in the early stages of this, and you can already see that there's a lot of books in all kinds of different categories. We've got a book about chess. We've got a book that's not a sales book. We've got a book about, the subscription secrets, a book about gaming, a book about building an online coaching program, a book about using Jarvis to leverage your book. And this guy up here, I want to highlight Michael Alexander. He had actually lost a bet 10 years ago that he could not write a book over the course of like a 7-year period. He ended up losing that bet. I think he ended up having to buy someone 1,000 oysters or something ridiculous because of it. And he came into this challenge and he was super excited to just get it done. He took the challenge on, and in an hour before midnight on Sunday night, I was chatting with him. We were finalizing his MVP edition of his book. He hit publish, and it was such a cool experience to watch and see him go through that. And yeah, as Austin said, right, I've got the Amazon consulting business on one side, and that was kind of the book that I wrote was really to educate people on my process and to show them, a little bit of insight into my head. And then another one of my businesses is it's a party game called Side Hustle, where you pitch funny fake business ideas and you kind of use it as like a creative juice, inspiration, improv game. And so I took the idea from that book and I asked Jarvis to pitch me 180 fake business ideas. And some of them are absolutely ridiculous and absurd. And some of them make like, oh, that might actually be a fundable business idea. And so the book is essentially a lead magnet of sorts, and it's still in its first edition of it. We're building on top of it as we speak. But there's a lot of different use cases for it. And you can use Jarvis like with a creative story to even work on fiction books. You can use it for, more specifically what we've been doing is a step-by-step approach for like nonfiction. And to facilitate this conversation, I started a group called Jarvis Underground, where we talk about how authors today are leveraging the power of AI to help them write their book. And beyond just Jarvis and Conversion.ai, there's a lot of really cool tools that harness AI from like the voice to text, so you can dictate your book, and then using that, we'll cover that tool here in a bit, along with Jarvis. We've never seen anything like this before in our time. And so to kind of kick off this 7-day challenge for what we've been coining it, it all starts with day one. And what we really kind of like reel things back into on day one is it all starts with why. And a lot of you are probably familiar with Simon Sinek and his book Start With Why. Well, it really does. And the reason that we want to start here, we want to look to setting your goals and identifying your customer avatar, and finding your spine so you know what the book is going to encompass, is you want to start with the end in mind. And if you don't have a clear why, and it defined, and at least putting that on paper, if you get halfway through this process and you're pushing and you hit a roadblock and you don't have a good why behind it, it's going to be very difficult to keep going. And so day one, before we even get to writing anything, we're sitting down, we're thinking about, like, what do I want this book to do for me this week, this month, this year, 5 years from now? Like thinking through that process and putting some real thought behind it, along with, okay, once my book is done, who are the dream 100 that I'm going to be getting this book out to? Who are the perfect people in my audience, in my industry, that I want to get my book into the hands of, because they can help me get my message out to more people? So that's day one of this 7-day process. And day two, we really jump into, again, before we even start writing anything, we're talking about researching the market on Amazon. We need to find our keywords and what category that we're going to be launching our book into, getting an idea of what some of the other best sellers are doing in that category. And we want to follow a proven framework, especially for nonfiction books, called the problem-solving method, which introduces the author, identifies the problems that are solving, why this book is different, and then what's the step-by-step approach over the course of typically 8 to 12 chapters, sometimes more, sometimes less, that you as the expert, the author, can walk somebody through from beginning to end and solve a problem for your reader. And the reason that you want to make sure this is extremely clear from the get-go is because if somebody doesn't get value out of even the first 1 or 2 chapters of your book, there's a good chance they won't complete the book. And so you want each chapter to really be in its own container, so that someone can read chapter 1, chapter 3, chapter 5, and know that, hey, that's a piece of gold that I can take back and I can implement. And now I have a lot of goodwill for the author. I've got a better chance of recommending it to a friend and leaving them a good review on Amazon, because we all know, reviews on Amazon are the lifeblood of everything. And so getting that set up with your research and outline is critical, mirroring what success is already doing out there, and then formatting your books so that you're not having to backtrack at the end of the 7 days. And I ended up spending a lot of extra time when I first did this, because I kind of like jumped over some of these and didn't tighten them up as much as I should have. And it just cost me more time. It wasn't like it destroyed the project. It just took a lot more time than necessary. And so there's
just to echo on that, man, what you said to me in our process that was so insightful is you're like, where are they at currently? What's Hell Island, as you said? Where do they want to escape from Hell Island and then arrive at, what'd you call it?
Heaven Island.
Heaven Island. And so what is that journey from escape to arrival? And so at the beginning of the book, they're in this situation that feels like hell, and that could be an internal or an external hell. And what does their dream look like by the end, where they can like see a clear path? And so each one of these chapters leads them across the journey, the hero's journey, as you said. And that made it once you explained it like that, it made it really easy for me to write, the outline of the book, which saved so much time and was able to actually like spin and use Jarvis to expand upon those individual moments, each little moment that led them from hell to heaven.
Absolutely. And that's a lot of what we identify in day one of your customer avatars, understanding what are the current problems that they're facing. And a good way that I like to look at it is like, what's the hair on fire problem that they're going through right now that they need to solve in order to get over that, get off of Hell Island and over to Heaven Island, right? And if someone's reaching out to Austin, for example, because they want to look at a subscription book, it's probably because they're looking for more consistent, predictable profits to come into their business instead of starting from zero at the beginning of every month, which is the value of subscription, right? And so that's a very real, very serious problem right now that someone needs to solve. And if you can show somebody that you can solve that problem in a step-by-step, a very systematized way, you are now the trusted advisor that can help them really get their problems and take them out. And it just makes the sale that much easier when it comes down to them doing business with you. And so, in getting this all formatted, you've got cool tools out there that assist with this process, especially on the research side. Publisher Rocket's a really popular tool amongst like Amazon booksellers. You do your research, your competition, categories, and really get a good feel for what the land looks like. And then as you're doing that and you're seeing what your outline looks like, I'm a fan of Google Docs. You can also use Word, and I'm sure there's other programs out there too. But you can actually format your doc inside of it. And I put the little arrows here. When you go up to the like H1, H2, H3 inside of the docs and titles, it'll outline that on this left-hand side of the screen so that you can essentially build out your whole table of contents. And as you start to build out your book, you can navigate back and forth very smoothly, as opposed to just writing a massive document and spending extra time just jumping back and forth there. So just a couple of the tools to get you started. But by day 1 and 2, when that's done, now we're going to day 3s to 5, which is really the core of this write. Let's get down, let's focus. You've done all the research and the preparation to get into this. Now is where you want to lean on tools like Jarvis. And my personal favorite, Otter.ai, I think they even give up to 600 free minutes of transcription on your phone, where you can essentially speak your book. You can dictate your book based on your outline and your research, and you should have all of this in your head now that you've organized it. Not everybody does this, but I know a lot of authors that are been successful for years that have used dictation to help them write. And it's a powerful way to just get through that writer's block. So if you're stuck staring at a blank screen, you just are looking at your keyboard and you don't know what to type, ask Jarvis for help. We're going to talk about and show some like how long form assistant is a great tool to kind of build off of these chapters, how to use Otter.ai to like talk through your introduction, and maybe some more of the storytelling and some of your personal experiences that Jarvis isn't going to know everything, but he can certainly help with a lot more of the factual based stuff and some ideas and inspiration. And so it's kind of a combination of all these tools, and understanding that now that you have these tools at your disposal, you're on like the absolute cutting edge of where we're at in creating content, whether it's blogs to books to PR releases to LinkedIn profiles to everything like this. It's such a powerful tool. And in the context of writing a book, we're just putting some structure to it and some organization in a way that's going to deliver a ton of value to your readers, and it's going to benefit you for a lifetime to come.
I personally loved my experience using Jarvis myself. Obviously, as CMO, I'm a little biased here, but basically I love where I was able to basically add the tone of voice to my book, where I put in the facts of like, here's what I know about subscriptions, and then it would generate a more interesting tone of voice. I could do I could do a funny story. I could expand it and add examples. And so Jarvis is our friend that has downloaded 10% of the internet and has consumed all of that knowledge and then aggregated it along with your prompts to create unique content that's never been written before. And so you can look at, we'll go into how to make sure there's no plagiarism tests, of course. But look, like 99% of what Jarvis creates is original content. And both Darby and I have put our books to the test in plagiarism softwares, and it comes back great. And the sentences that get flagged are ones that are really just common sentences that you're bound to have that anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like you said, like, Jarvis isn't necessarily gonna, like the plagiarism isn't gonna be something we haven't found it often, but it's still good to fact check, right? Like, and that's, as an expert in writing a book, in this case, like, you'll be able to fact check what Jarvis is saying back to you pretty quickly too. So, like, oh, that's not the right process for this. Oh, that actually makes a lot of sense. Or that person didn't say this quote, right? So still do your due diligence, but just know that Jarvis is just going to help you walk through this process a bit more. And so, like, as we're talking about days 3 to 5, really just keeping your heads down and writing. There's obviously editing that goes into this as well. And so, like, while we're refining the process, it's good to just get an extra set of eyeballs on it while you're writing. Using tools like Grammarly are great for just kind of keeping your sentence structure in check. And obviously you want a cover design. And if you're just doing a Kindle like ebook upload, you're just going to need a front-facing cover. If you're going to do a paperback, then you're going to want to design the back of it, the author bio, the blurb, and some of the other things that go into writing the book. But there's plenty of free tools out there as well, such as Canva, that you can get to help design your covers. I designed both of my covers in Canva, and there's plenty of awesome designers out there too, all the way from Fiverr all the way up to 99 Designs to all over the internet. I mean, it's really up to you at this point, but something to think about, because people do judge a book by its cover. And so while you're doing all this research, it just goes to you'll have a lot of information on what's already working out there and how you can take that, make your own cover, and set yourself up for success. One thing I found with Jarvis in the long form editor is like, especially using it to rephrase and make some sentences a little bit more creative. If I'm dictating, or if I've written some stuff out that, I was like, that sounded good the first pass, but it just doesn't vibe with me right now as much. You can highlight stuff and have Jarvis kind of give you variations of it. There's like, that makes a lot more sense to say it that way. Or he like condenses it down if you say something that's a little bit repetitive. Yeah. Again, extra set of eyeballs on your writing is always helpful. Even if it's just a friend to kind of just give you a once over, like, okay, this chapter sucks, or like you need to maybe expand on this a little bit more. Obviously, if you want to hire a professional editor, that's always an option too. But for the context of this 7-day challenge, like, done is better than perfect. So you can take that and then continue to edit and improve on the process there. And by day 7, you'll be exhausted. It's a lot of work, like, no doubt about that. But now, Amazon and their Kindle Direct Publishing platform, they make it so easy for people to go through the self-publishing process now. And there's a lot of other platforms out there as well. One being like the Book Patch, for one, which, I've had experience with. There's, you can just check it out. And the self-publishing world is just growing massively, right? The traditional routes of going to like the publisher and hiring an agent and paying $40,000 for someone to help you like market and publish your book. I mean, it's still out there, but not everyone necessarily needs it, especially when we're, looking at it like, hey, how do we just get this, MVP edition of our book out? Amazon makes it easy, right? You decide your title and subtitle, and something to keep in mind when you do upload your book is that the title and subtitle, as of right now anyway, will be locked in once you submit it. So make sure that you're confident in what you want your title and subtitle to be. But you take your keywords and your category research from day 1 and 2. You manuscript your cover, update your pricing, and all that research that you did at the very front of it. Now it's just a matter of like, cool, plug it in, make sure everything looks good, and submit it for publishing. And, just like we did, this is what you'll see. You'll see, congratulations, here you go, your book is uploaded, it's published. Amazon will go and process it over a 24 to 72 hour period. And then you say, hey, everybody, go check my book out on Amazon, download it, really would value your feedback. And now it's time to what? Promote and sell your book, right? Like now that your MVP is out there, this is the perfect package to deliver to people that would be your advanced readers. It doesn't have to be a massive launch. You don't have to, go, spend thousands and thousands of dollars to try and make the Wall Street Journal bestseller list. What you want to do is get your book into a handful of people that understand who you are, maybe give you an objective view of the book as they read it, take that feedback, implement it back into your book over the course of the next few weeks, next few months. And while you're doing this, time to strategize, what do you really want your launch to do? And you can share your journey on social media, get people involved. I've seen people starting up private like Facebook groups specifically for a book so that when they do launch and they do an official launch on the Amazon, they have a really high chance of success to hit a bestseller, the number one bestseller ranking in a category, because they've done the work and they've built the audience and they put it out there. And then, Amazon is an advertising platform too. So you can buy ads on Amazon. You can send traffic to it. There's different promos and things that you can do to get more exposure when it comes to Amazon, because they're still the gorilla of, this is where it's the largest bookstore on the internet, right? And all over the world. So lots of tools at your disposal here. And now that you've written your book and you've gotten that MVP edition done by day 7, like the journey has started. You are further ahead than 99% of the people out there who have always said they want to be a published author, but they've never gone through the process and done it. So like this is a huge win if this is your first time, going through this process and clicking publish. Like now let's say you've broken the 4-minute mile. You've like, wow, I've been putting off a book in my head for years, for decades even. And now you've gone through the process. You've done something that most people will never, ever do. And as we showed earlier with Austin, like you don't need to sell 1 million copies of books to find success. In reality, you're not going to make any money from your actual book. That's just a fact. Like you'd have to sell a lot of books to actually make money from that book itself. The real money is in what does the book open for you? Does it bring in new clients to your business? Does it grow your podcast platform? Does it, make it just a no-brainer for people to do business with you? And does it open up the door for you to speak on stages, to land consulting gigs, to just, the world is your oyster now. It just depends on what you want to do with it. And if we take it all the way back to day 1, like what are your goals for this in the first place? And, take things from there. But, by the end of this, you will have a book published on Amazon.
I always loved, I think the biggest value I got out of writing a book is now I have a really clear path to content creation this year. All of the micro sections and chapters, heck, each one of those is a podcast, a blog post. You can even reformat the exact same thing and put it as a video script. So by doing the hard work up front over the next 7 days to write a book, then you'll be able to reformat and redistribute that content in new and creative ways. I think it's one of the best decisions you can do as a business that wants to create content and build authority around what you know.
Absolutely. Now, let's see Jarvis in action. We want to show you guys how to, now we're just going to I think, Austin, you're going to pull it up on your end, how we are using Jarvis, as a matter of fact, to brainstorm, to outline, to write chapters of books.
That's right. And Darby, I'm not going to be able to see the chat here, so why don't you go ahead and moderate for me? If people have questions, you can stop me and all of that, and we'll get to it.
You got it.
So right now, my book is 71 pages. Here's the manuscript. And to kind of go from pull this full circle, here's the outline section, as we mentioned in the very beginning. And so basically what I did was think about where do they start and where do they want to go. And I put them between 5 and 7 chapters of the main pillars of success. along this. So, from like learning about it, setting the stage, to starting your own subscription business, how to do the launch, etc., all the way to my promise is find your first 1,000 raving fans. So here's where they start. They start by entering the subscription economy of strength, and then they end with finding their first 1,000 raving fans. That's the escape Hell Island and arrive at Heaven Island, escape and arrival. Then I go in and basically highlight, here is the title. Here's chapter 1, is heading 1, and then that automatically creates it here on the left-hand side. And so I didn't know about these features, but this is so helpful for organization of your outline. And if you begin with the outline and then later on fill out the content, you'll move so much faster, guys. And so let's actually walk through one way to do this. I was going to have here right in real time. Yes, we're in Google Docs right now. In real time, we'll write a little bit about this. I was going to do a chapter on free trial versus freemium offers. So what we'll do is go in here to the dashboard, click on the long form assistant, create a new doc. And I actually prepared this just to save some time. So the input is, I'm telling Jarvis directions, instructions on what I want him to create for us here. And so here's how I wrote it. This is a book about subscription businesses like software, memberships, and subscription services. This chapter is about free trials and freemium offers. Free trials and freemium offers are a great way to get people to try your subscription before buying. Tone of voice should be educated and witty. All right, so these are clear instructions. I want to give a little bit of background because it doesn't know anything about my book. It doesn't know anything about my offer, about the chapter yet, so we need to give it instructions like, here is this chapter. And then I went ahead and just added one more extra sentence to give it direction on where I want it to take it. So should read that. I didn't have to use the full 600, but it'd be interesting to test how doing 300 versus 600 characters changes Jarvis's knowledge. All right. Then we'll create a headline. So I'll just go ahead and pull in this headline here. Should you have a freemium offer or a free trial? And let's generate ideas. Let's just see if Jarvis is more creative than I am. All right. So created like 10 headlines here. How to increase conversion rates with free trials and freemium offers. And by the way, do you all see that this could be great blog post titles? This is also great videos for your YouTube. There's so many applications here. The art of subscription offer optimization. How to get people a taste. That's actually pretty good. Free trials and freemium. The benefit of running a subscription business. Let's see. All right, I'm going to run with this one. How to increase subscription conversions with free trials and freemium. So use that one. All right, and then we can write our own intro, or we can ask Jarvis, can you just generate some ideas because I haven't had my coffee yet? And here he is. He generated 3 unique introductions. Here's the thing. People are paying for your product doesn't mean they're actually going to love it. In fact, many subscription businesses find that their churn rate is actually higher among paying customers than free ones. In this chapter, we'll dive into how you can use free trials and freemium offers to increase conversion rates on your website by letting people try out your service before you buy. Hey guys, that's pretty on point, isn't it? You think I should use that one, Darby? Solid. Let's use that one. All right, and now we'll open it up to the editor. So you can see here he is. Yes, this is the Pro Unlimited plan. Ended with just this past Friday. Hundreds of people are raving about this. And right now it is on the wait list. So if you are not yet using this, I'll put here in the chat, you can join the wait list. at Conversion.ai /pro waitlist. All right, so this is coming out on Tuesday. Any of you guys that are on the starter plan or not have yet signed up for this long form editor to allow you to create books and scripts, that's going on live on Tuesday. So be sure to sign up on that wait list to be first to know. All right, so what we're going to do is, now that we have our intro, we want a medium output length, and I can click compose. All right, so what Jarvis is doing is he's reading the past section here, the past 600 characters, and then it's going to create, it's going to continue that sentence in the same train of thought, along with the tone of voice that we directed it with, and thinking about all the information that it's read on the internet to create unique content. That's what's happening here in real time. All right, so what we'll end up doing is reading this, and then here's how we can use free trials. And in real time, we'll just start editing here and continuing the sentence. So here's how you can use freemium and free trial offers on the subject of increasing conversion rates with a few tips like. All right, so it's asking me to kind of go into a bullet point. So tip number one, we can say, how long does it take to receive value? All right. And so again, this is where like my expertise is having to come into play, where I give direction. So now I'm kind of, as a copywriter, giving myself a promotion from being the one that writes to being the one that directs and edits. So kind of think about yourself as a chief editing officer now, rather than having to do kind of the grunt work of actually writing in real time. So how long
Also,
does it
something here, Austin, is if you are stuck on maybe like, what are some tip ideas that I could get, you could pop over to the blog post outline and brainstorm a little bit. If you're struggling with like, what are some things that I could talk about here, use some of the other tools inside of Conversion AI if you do get stuck, or if it is something that you'd like to just kind of brainstorm a bit with Jarvis on.
That's right. Yeah, so we could open up the power mode here and use all of the other templates and input them right here inside of this doc. So, something we could do is, let's say, like where's the bullet point one? Persuasive bullet points. And from here, if it's asking for how to increase conversion rates, so we can do like how you can use freemium and free trial offers to increase conversion rates. I'll do but he's fine there. All right, and then let's bump this down to 3, generate some content. Showcase value. All right, so this is pretty good. I'll just delete what I have here for demonstration. All right, so now we have a section on increasing conversion rates. Now we have a section on establishing credibility and integrity. That's an interesting positioning, right? Like a unique marketing angle on a free trial, because it showcases this is a real product behind a company that has integrity, and then third, showcases real value before ever paying. And so what I can do from here is then go into sentence expander. Free trials. All right, so now we can ask it to expand this sentence into why free trials are awesome. Have you ever heard of a thing called cognitive dissonance? It's a thing where you're spending money, makes it more difficult to spend. Here. Pretty good. If your conversion rates are low, one of the best things you can do is offer free trials. Free trials help a lot with converting people because it allows them to try out your product before you make any purchases. And then I can start adding in my own experience. For example, at Conversion.ai, over 50% of our free trials convert to paying users because they love Jarvis. They get to try it. All right, so now I'll do something like that. And what I can do from here is highlight this. And maybe I want to rephrase it. So at Conversion AI, over half of our free trials convert to paying customers because they get to try Artificial before buying it. So maybe it's a little bit more concise. Maybe it's a little bit better, right? Maybe I want to try that again, though. All right. For example, Conversion AI, most of our free trials are converting to paying customers. Yeah, that's pretty good. All right. So I'll switch it over to there. And then we can keep going from there. One of the most important
Got a question, Austin.
converting free trials. Yeah.
So is Jarvis considering all content higher on the page for each generation round, like long-term memory, meaning it will generate more relevant text the longer the overall content, or does it only consider the direct line a few lines prior to the cursor of the short-term memory?
I'm going to read the past 600 characters, right? So look, like if Jarvis read your entire book, like let's say just like upload, 120,000 words, how's it going to know exactly the perfect thing to do next? It's way too broad for it to just, listen to all of that noise and create something that's accurate and precise and creative on the spot. So rather than doing that, we want it to give the last 600 characters to give it more direction and a better tone of voice that is accurate to what it is reading recently. All right, so it's going to continue the same train of thought, and that's why we have it keep composing more. So you need to, you toss the ball a little bit, and then it'll keep running. Toss the ball a little bit further, it'll keep running, and that's how we found Jarvis creates the best content for you. These rules are not to help you feel are not to make you feel limited. It's to help you feel unlimited so that you don't have to keep going back and editing all the time. This makes sure that the content being produced is actually better for you. Does that make sense, y'all? Like we don't want you to keep having to redirect it. Jarvis is your pal here, but he can't just like write the entire thing for, he's not going to read your head. You have to give him direction. Sweet. I'm going to keep trying to mess with this here, but you guys are starting to get the hang of it. I want to be respectful of Darby's time here in the next 10 minutes. So what you can do here, I'll just add a couple more sentences, as you can see, just some of the other features, and then we'll finish the presentation up here. So one important part about free conversion rates is getting people value quickly. We call this the moment of wow, because this is when people like, holy crap, Jarvis is awesome. All right, so now it's going to read this sentence, and then what we can do is click, how about a long one? Compose. Oh, nice. So I like how it went with the direction. Do we require a credit card or not? Is that a good method to do free trial with credit card required or not credit card required? How long is the trial period? Um, and then it goes. It's getting pretty opinionated here about the FTC rules and all of this, huh? Freemium means you're giving away content without charging them right now instead of monetizing later on. Cool. So I could go in and now edit this stuff based on also my own opinion. Remember, I don't know how it's checking the FTC rule and all of this. Again, fact check Jarvis. Make sure that, because he's compiling all of the information across the internet. Hard for him to say that this article versus this article is more correct than another. You want to give him some flexibility and creativity around what to write. So, as an author, it is on you to own what you publish. Just use Jarvis as a tool to help you get there faster. So I would then go in and make sure that this is aligned with my own opinions and it's fact checked. And I also recommend threading in personal stories and anecdotes, which it's not going to know that. It's not going to know about your experience at your company and with your clients and with your family or whatever it is. So make sure you input your own stories. You can also use here the creative story template here, and it's pretty awesome. This is one of my favorite templates because Jarvis gets on a roll. You type in just a little bit about yourself, and then it will create a really funny story. I'm not going to read this because this is what me and my friends were doing in Costa Rica, playing with this, writing stories about our time out in Costa Rica. And it was it's so amazing what Jarvis can create fictional stories. So if you're writing a fiction book, that is an amazing template to get the creative juices flowing and see just what directions you can go with the story. All right, so let's go ahead and take some questions here for the next 5 minutes. And Darby, are there any other pieces of your presentation that you want to continue here?
No, this is pretty much how we plan to close things out, and a lot of question on the creative storytelling side of things. On top of the creative story template, I would encourage everyone to think creatively with the other tools too, in what you're inputting them, and playing around with Jarvis, for example, would be like in the blog post intro paragraph I put in the comments here. I'd found that he can go off and be pretty creative for things that are not that are more fictional, in that, because he's kind of expanding and building off of a topic too. Say Sharon is asking percentage of book was written by Jarvis. Mine, the Amazon copywriting book that I wrote, probably about 70% of the content, the core of the content was inspired by Jarvis. Mm-hmm. And the most of it, I added a lot more at the beginning and the end from my personal experience. And then the editing and adding my own tone to things kind of closed it out. Not sure on your side, Austin.
Yeah, on my side, it was probably about 30%, 30 to 40. So a lot of my book is on actual experience, storytelling about, with Proof and Conversion.ai and other subscription companies that we've started in the past. So those stories it doesn't know much about. And so I have to give it direction. But then what I did was expand it. And then I had Jarvis rewrite it to be more creative, because I'm not sure I'm really the most creative writer. I like to just kind of get it out there. I can type fast about what I want to say, but then I let Jarvis rewrite how I want to say it. And that's been really helpful for me in the editing process. And then you also have another book, Darby, that was almost 100% written by Jarvis, right?
I wanted to really put Jarvis to the test and see how creative and ridiculous he could get. And so based on the context of the game that it's built off of, there's 180 side hustle business names. And I literally sat there for probably 8 hours and just said, hey, Jarvis, pitched me a ridiculous business idea called connection protection. Um, and the tone was like set to like funny or ridiculous. And it was just, some of the stuff is just, it's hilarious that a machine can come up with something like this, and kind of piece a few together. And I wouldn't ever put it up to be a New York Times bestseller, but it's certainly entertaining to read.
Very entertaining book, y'all. 180 ridiculous business ideas written by Jarvis. All right, so then we also have a question here from Brett. What about an editor? Is it worth like once you have your manuscript, do you hire a professional editor to give you feedback on it? What do you think, Darby?
Hire it depends on what stage in the book that I guess you're getting at. Like there's a lot of really affordable editing that you can tap into, with just this really like easy to access services such as like Fiverr and plenty of other options on the internet. I didn't go to a professional editor for the first round of this because I had a few friends that were looking it over, and but in the next iterations of this and in my next book that I am writing, I am going to be hiring a professional editor because there's a lot of value that someone else's objective eyes can bring, just in the structure of writing a book and weaving together a good story and that. And on that note, I do have to bounce, guys. It's been a lot of fun, but yeah, thank you for having me, Austin.
Yeah, absolutely. And we can continue the conversation around book writing in your Facebook group, Jarvis Underground. So I wanted to share this. It's not an official Conversion.ai group. Dave and I are not managing it. I'll continue talking about it, Darby. You can get going.
Thank you.
So this Jarvis Underground group is for specifically writing with books, and Darby has agreed to kind of like help people implement that. And so this is kind of like what he's working on as a community manager, helping with that. But the guys here at Conversion.ai, we're not a part of that. We're basically just like helping support all of our customers in a way with this unique Facebook group. So if that is a mission or goal of yours to write a book, best to talk about it there in the Jarvis Underground community. Cool. Last housekeeping is this upcoming Tuesday, the Pro Unlimited plan is coming out of the vault. So we have been kind of watching and getting a lot of feedback on how the Pro Unlimited plan has worked for the last 2 weeks. And we decided we're going to reopen it again and start accepting new users into the long form assistant. So today you guys got a taste of what that looks like. If you're not already in there, this is literally like game changing. It is the 2021 version of the printing press. And there's so many applications for it. As you obviously know, writing a book is quite a daunting, long one. That's why I think it takes about 7 days. But you could literally write a fantastic blog post in an hour. You could write a new video sales script for your YouTube video or a VSL. You could, write a story for your LinkedIn. Long form stories on LinkedIn are working incredibly well right now. And in fact, we actually have a training on LinkedIn upcoming soon. So if you guys haven't already gotten on the wait list for the Pro Unlimited plan, go to Conversion.ai /pro -waitlist. I'll put it here in the chat. And you can get on that list. You'll be first to know when it goes live. All right. We also have more trainings just like this one live in the Academy. Along with this training, I'll post the replay later today around, probably 2 or 3 hours from now. And I'll get it up there. We'll also create some more robust documentation around what Darby created today. So we'll make like a guide. That won't be around for about a week though. So, but keep an eye out for that. And any other questions, feel free to hit up me or Darby about how to write a book with Jarvis. Thanks, y'all. I hope you have a great day and see you on the inside.